Meeting at the crossroads where the two forbidden subjects of politics and religion intersect. This is the Sophie Scholl Roundtable. I'm Mel McGinnis, and back with me again is Kurt Olson. And by the way, Kurt, Garrett says hello. He loves chatting with you. Garrett isn't here today.
Hello back to Garrett. You can tell him the next time.
And check out Faith and Freedom, because Garrett did a spectacular video today on the whole COVID thing, which I'm having Kurt here because this guy on Facebook is excellent, putting up posts there that make you think. And thankfully, Facebook hasn't removed him from putting up those posts.
No jail yet.
No jail yet for Kurt. But we're going to talk about this topic because it is a hot one, given what we heard the media and certain politicians say last year about Wuhan.
Yes.
And now, what's coming to the surface? Kurt, fill us in.
We, over the last, probably 2 weeks or so, we've had Tony Fauci flip. We've had a variety of people in the mainstream media who have actually given credibility to the idea that this lab in Wuhan, China, that a leak from that thing has more credibility than the idea that there was someone ate bad bat soup from this wet market in Wuhan. I mean, that's what they wanted us to believe, or something like that, for the better part of a year or better. And we've had, I remember the very first time I saw any reporting on this. I think it was last May, June, July. The Epic Times, if you're familiar with it.
A very good paper.
Okay. They had, this was like a 55-minute video. Okay. Shortly after that, this thing is in YouTube jail. Censored. Nobody can see it. Nobody can share it. If you do, it doesn't last very long. And you would see other people, predominantly right of center. I mean, one guy that I trust a lot, his name is Bill Gertz. He does some writing for the Washington Times. And frankly, I regard him as the best national security writer in the country. But he was another one who would say, this lab leak thing has some legitimacy to it. You saw that, a variety of others, and all of a sudden, it's like it's now territory that can be explored. I mean, we even had the president even today, and here we are, May 27th. Suggesting that the intelligence community should actually be going down this road. I mean, where was this guy, 6-8 months ago when he was having his 12 people rallies, socially distanced and all that other stuff, and he was basically talking like any hint of China being bad is, how dare you? Even think of it.
Right. And to me, I remember Tom Cotton, that senator from Arkansas. It was back January.
Yes. In fact, some regard him as one of the first people in this country to even broach that subject.
And how he was excoriated.
He was excoriated, and I've seen him in recent days and weeks on social media basically saying, wow, strangely, this is not how this went a year ago.
Yeah.
The ability of these people to just kind of flip on a dime has been amazing. And it's almost like they're wanting everybody to think that whole 2020 thing, just disregard it. It never happened.
Right. To me, it says a lot about journalism in our day and time.
It does. It does.
Because I feel like those, especially on the left, simply wanted to push a certain narrative.
They do. And unfortunately, that's what tends to be happening more. There's a a storyline to get the public to accept rather than a relentless pursuit of the truth.
Yeah,
wherever it leads.
Right, and there's a difference there.
Oh, a vast difference there.
And I think hopefully people are beginning to catch on what's really going on.
I mean, and it's not just Wuhan. And let's set the table a little bit more with Wuhan, though. This is the Chinese Communist Party. Mm-hmm. The Chinese Communist Party put forth a narrative to the entire world that if you lock everybody down, everything's going to be just fine. And the world did it. Hook, line, and sinker. They got everybody to jump on board from Asia to the United States. And it's amazing how one powerful entity leading one country was able to pull this off. I mean, I can't imagine what some of those conversations Z is having behind closed doors with some of his lackeys in Beijing. I mean, he's got to be grinning ear to ear. I mean, he's got corporate America on board. He's got athletes in the United States, and he must be one of the happiest people in the world right now.
Right, and I think we see this influence and reach even making people here in the U.S. thankfully begin to question, can you even trust the scientists that are over there?
Exactly. In fact, I just saw something that Tucker Carlson did just in the last, 10 days? This was someone from China who did the initial research on what was going on in this lab. Last September, he had her on his show, and I would butcher the lady's name, and I'd even would have to go to a video to even capture it in an attempt to say it properly. But this lady, shortly after that emerged in an interview last September, gone, scratched, scrubbed, sanitized from social media. No one can share it. And all of a sudden, in the last couple weeks, he has her on again, and she's basically saying, yes, we were vindicated, in her broken English with a very strong Chinese accent.
Yeah, and like you say, too, about social media, the flip that's occurred.
Oh, my.
I mean, like Facebook says, now they're going to allow these stories to surface when they would have been on board with keeping her silent.
In fact, just the other day, if people are familiar with Project Veritas, the James O'Keefe outlet, he had a couple insiders at Facebook talking about how they're using these algorithms to identify, and I know we're going to get into this issue in a little bit here, vaccine hesitancy. So if you post something about vaccines and it happens to even remotely cross the line of hesitancy toward vaccines, all of a sudden there's this thing that they do, they score it, and the post gets no traction at all. And so, I mean, Facebook's engaged in this little, and let's be honest, it's not just Facebook. Twitter does this.
Yep.
YouTube does this. The folks at Google do this. I mean, and this is this game that is being played with people who now control a major factor of our lives, for at least anyone who is on social media.
And it goes back to they want to push a storyline rather than be objective journalists.
Yes.
I think objective journalism, for the most part, is history.
You could probably count on maybe one or two hands the numbers that actually do that now.
See, I trust Epoch Times. I don't have a lot of their paper, but when I've seen it, I feel like this is thorough reporting.
Yeah, exactly.
I just look at the content and say, wow, this is so different than what I'm observing elsewhere.
Exactly, yeah.
You mentioned something else to get into, vaccine.
Vaccine hesitancy, or vaccines generally.
You got a comment on it?
A couple. I mean, we've got. I mean, what was it just today that surfaced? Our governor, basically bribing college kids to get a vaccine in order to go to college. He's basically taking the model of the Ohio governor who's dishing out $1 million. And, oh, by the way, the reporting out of Ohio is they've had an increase in the number of people getting vaccines. Strangely enough, people want $1 million. And so our governor is basically saying, we'll give away a free ride for a kid for, I haven't read the full stuff, but they're giving away college educations for those that would get a vaccine.
Yeah, I feel like this is legal bribery. And by the way, you should see a great show put on by Garrett Kane, who just recently did a commentary on this very thing we're talking about right now. We got to call it for what it is. In addition to this being a legal bribe, this is just another aspect of theft of our money because
Exactly.
he's using our money for this scheme he has in order to have kids go to the schools he wants, because it's just for state schools.
Yes.
Not for private schools.
Exactly. And so, oddly though, there isn't a lot of case law on legal issues involving vaccines. So if there's a lawsuit that develops, and there has been some reporting that indeed there are some entities out there that are going to be challenging Rutgers and a variety of other colleges that have been pushing, in order to come on our campus, you need to be able to prove you had a vaccine. It's going to be interesting to see where courts land. And obviously that will probably come down to constitutional arguments that are made and judges who buy an argument in a certain way. So if there's something that develops in that area, they will be calling it landmark decision making.
Yeah. And then landmark would follow stare decisis, meaning that would set the precedent.
You're right.
Yeah.
It would be something that moving forward, anything involving vaccine litigation would be commonly referred to.
Yeah, and I'm very skeptical of having this kind of policy be adopted, because once government has this opportunity to have this kind of policy, they'll run with it.
Exactly.
It won't stop
Well,
there.
frankly, we've seen this in New York State. A couple years ago, they tell parents, your kids can no longer declare a religious exemption on the normal vaccines that are allowed in school. Or that come with being enrolled at a school. And there is tremendous fear that is going to extend now to COVID-19, when indeed there is some mounting evidence that perhaps physically scientists, doctors, and others should have no business insisting kids get these.
Yeah. I just do not appreciate government's nose putting itself in places where it should not be.
Exactly.
That aspect of privacy.
This is an issue. This is a conversation people need to be making themselves within families, perhaps even with the assistance of some doctors, and no more.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, you pray,
Yeah.
But between God, the people, and the doctor, that's really the extent of it.
Right. And I feel like this whole vaccine thing, this whole COVID thing, has had so much politics involved in it. I feel different from like what the measles, mumps have been.
Oh my goodness, yes. This is now like a politically correct illness.
Yes.
And or let's use the new word, wokeness.
Yeah.
And if you happen to display any opposition to it, you are a pariah to society.
Yeah. By the way, we've gone 15 minutes. And what do you think about segregated stadiums? We're going to pick up on that the next time Kurt joins me here on the Sophie Scholl Roundtable.